The South African Communist Party's response to the ANC's announcement that it was recalling President Jacob Zuma was to say that at last the alliance was in agreement on the urgency of this action. They said the decision will pave the way for introspection and self-correction. Mapaila, the first General Secretary at the SACP, joins us now. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, welcome once again. Yeah. I mean, you've been asking for this for a long time now. What would you ideally like to see happen today?
Well, the best thing will be for President to render his resignation. I think that will save the ANC as well as the country from a lot of anxiety. But at the same time, it will assist us to move forward. And he will also be comradely and being true ANC cadre by respecting the decision of the National Executive Committee. At the same time, I think it helps to unite South Africans who have been quite worried about a lot of things that were happening around him. And of course, this action as well, the raid on the Gupta's house, that assist in that mood. And he can't reverse that mood that is taking place in the country, that at least at last action has been taken against wrongdoing, both at ethical level as well as from a corruption point of view.
A lot of South Africans have been expressing their frustration at how the ANC has handled the situation. But is it fair to be that harsh on the, I suppose one could say, our future president, Cyril Ramaphosa? Is it something that he should have acted on faster, or is this the way it should be handled, and the only way it can be handled?
I think that's the best they could have done. You'll remember that their first meeting was to, as the leadership after election in December 2017, was to prepare the January 8th statement in East London. And after that, there was the NEC Lekgotla, and from the weekend of the NEC Lekgotla, he left for Davos, which was also important because they have to deal with possibilities for investment in the country, which will contribute in growing the economy. And the president had gone to the AU. So there wasn't enough space, but immediately he was back from the AU, and the president was back from the AU, and President Ramaphosa was back from Davos. They started the negotiations and the discussions. So within 2 weeks, this is where we are. Yeah. I think they've done well in that space. Of course, we would have loved this matter to have been dealt with quite earlier. But we must appreciate that they finally acted.
Yeah, and finally being the operative word here, because, I mean, the breaking news this morning, the fact that the Gupta's residence is being raided. Solly, I mean, talk to us about your reaction to this.
I mean, I was waking up quite early this morning that if you hear the works at the Gupta's place, I've got a friend of mine who stays on the street. I called, he was still asleep. But it was just unbelievable because we've been complaining about the Guptas, and in fact we have indicated that at the core of the corruption and parasitic networks in the country, those that have controlled the state, or if you like, have stolen our national independence as a people, is this group of the Guptas. Yeah. And I think I had the greatest feeling this morning. I'm still going to pass there, but I've seen the visuals now quite clearly, satisfying that at last action has been taken. Yeah. Hopefully, the evidence that has been gathered will be handled with care and not be destroyed so that it can be used effectively for their prosecution.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people assuming at this point in time that this is long overdue. And when you say long overdue, vital evidence has already been destroyed. There's probably nothing in there. But then again, this is again speculation. But this is what people are saying, is that this is something where they've cleaned this out. They've covered their tracks. The money is gone. Everything's gone by now, surely.
We will get it. There's no doubt South Africa will get what is due to itself. Of course, we may not get all. But you'll know, for instance, when you look at the case that was brought by then Minister Pravin Gordhan with their illicit transactions, that's now part of the public record. In fact, it was a smart move on his side to have taken that, even though he lost the case, but it was important that he has put on record officially some of the illicit transactions that were flowing out of the country from the Gupta side. Some other organizations have done some work. The academics, the South African Council of Churches had commissioned the unburdening panel process, which uncovered a lot of traces of these networks of corruption. That's open evidence. That's why we've been fighting the NPA that you have enough evidence already. Why are you not taking action? So it's not just on the Estina farm, on many other issues relating to the broad state capture process, and I think that there's enough evidence of wrongdoing. That's why we can't accept any other thing apart from their prosecution.
I just want to speak to you about what could possibly unfold today. Have you been in the loop as to, the recalling of President Jacob Zuma before we heard this? Have you been a party to the discussions and the decisions that have been made by the ANC with regard to President Jacob Zuma?
Well, there's been communication, not intense as we would have liked, but there's been direct discussions between the leadership. Comrade President Zimanda, our General Secretary, has been in touch with the President of the ANC, as well as, I think, the President of COSATU, as the principals of the alliance, and Comrade Mdagana, for constant engagement on the process. So, but the nitty-gritties of the negotiations was left largely to the officials of the ANC who were reporting to the NEC.
Just to keep viewers in the loop, on your screen you're seeing the live visuals coming from Saxon World. So this is our camera that's stationed there, and we're ready to bring you anything that does happen. So that's what you're seeing on your screen at the moment. Solly, in terms of President Jacob Zuma's resignation, we feel that today we're still in a little bit of confusion whether or not there will be a 10 o'clock presser, and I'm wondering in an hour and a half's time, we still haven't been alerted to this, if it'll happen or not. But do you foresee President Jacob Zuma heeding the call of the ANC and stepping down today, or do you think there's something up his sleeve that he may very well challenge this recall in the Constitutional Court?
Well, if he doesn't, it will be extremely unprecedented, and knowing him, is not a person that will allow to lose the benefits that he's supposed to get as a former president. I surely believe that you will announce some time. It might not be at 10 o'clock as they said, or as speculated through what Comrade Malusi said, but he will certainly make an announcement most likely today. Otherwise, then he's allowing the ANC to initiate a process to remove him from parliament, as president through parliament, which will make him lose any other benefits if he allows that particular process to proceed. It's the same as the process of impeachment. Hence, this is what is regarded as the most dignified way of him leaving office.
Solly, thank you very much for talking to us here on the program. Solly Mapaila is the First Deputy General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. The date is the 14th of February. Doesn't matter what happens, it's already a day that's going to go down in history. Those visuals that you've been watching this morning are the Hawks that are currently embarking on a raid on the Gupta residence in Saxon World. Our reporter, Griselda Lewis, is there. She was telling us that there were in excess of 13 to 18 police vehicles that are there. Police are inside the compound currently, but we also see a lot of the vehicles have left at this point. So there's speculation that there may be other raids happening around at Sahara's offices and other places, but the confirmation still coming in, and the Hawks should be updating the media and South Africa in due course. Let's take a